Here we go, day number 3. So I changed layout a little bit, just dark mode, and I'm gonna zoom in a little more for when I'm coding. Um, Let me know. I know I'm not getting a lot of views right now, but if anyone sees this and wants to comment for me, if you like this form where I did a little bit of pre-planning beforehand, but the actual live coding is gonna be me just doing this start to finish myself so I can talk through my decision making and problem solve on the fly. I just think it might be entertaining. So, um, if it's cool, let me know. If it's not and it's a little too long form and boring, also let me know. So the 3 things I wanted to do today for my Jira task board is I want to create my chess board, I want to create my chess piece, both as components, and then I want to add a JSON type of it's going to be a dummy state that in the future would be in the API. But I'm going to code that into the chessboard component. So that is something I want to start with, is changing this folder name to components. Well, no, assets should stay. I'm going to create a new folder in here called components, because we'll need assets, right? So I'll take app, CSS, and TSX and put them in components. Update imports, yeah, of course. And then I'm just going to create an app folder for the app component files. This is just the way I like to organize my components. So another folder under components, this is going to be for a piece. And then right away inside piece, I'm going to create piece.tsx. And the plan here really is I want to import React from React. Cool, we're going to need that. And then in the future, I mean, I'm sure we'll have CSS. I'm not sure if I'm going to use Tailwind or just my own custom formatting. I would like to practice with Tailwind, so I'll make that decision in the future, but I'm going to create a functional component, function piece. I'm sure I'll end up having some props in here, of course. The board is probably going to be a context. The piece does need to look at the board so that I can decide where a piece is allowed to move. Just for some UX design for a chess game, I want any piece you're able to move. It'd be great to be able to display those chessboard spots, kind of like I did in my example project in the first video. So this is a functional component in React. And really what this is going to end up doing, I am going to have a board context at some point. So I'll need to give myself access to that. I'm going to be able to set up helper methods in here, and I'm probably going to end up namespacing each of the specific chess pieces. But for now, I'm just going to make it really basic. Return, and then div. If you want to in React, you can actually just bada bing. These tags don't actually need to be div. Something in React, if React is new to you, whenever you make a component like this, there can only be one outer tag. So you cannot have both that and that. This is problematic. We're only allowed to have one parent element in a React component. So right now this is a piece, and then inside here, maybe I'm just going to put, sure, a paragraph tag right now. I'm a piece. So this is just going to be removed later, but yeah, so this is a functional component, TSX file. So TypeScript React it's a component. You're not really going to see much right now, but in the future this is going to do a lot. Pieces are obviously the thing you interact with in a chess game. So although the board organizes the pieces are what you play with. So this file is going to get large, but just to keep things small and bite-sized, this is where I'm going to stop for the piece component. And like a good programmer, I'm going to copy and paste. So the board component that represents a chess board, board.tsx. I'm a board. So I'm going to change this functional component. And this board and piece, these were actually two separate stories I did on Jira. So just for the sake of organizing my work, I never actually created a new branch. So let's make sure I have this copied and pasted. And then down here, git reset hard head. Everything should be returned to where it was before, besides the new files and folders I made. Let's get these out of the main branch. App CSS. We'll drag these back out to the source level. Yes. And goodbye components folder. All right. So git status. Let's make sure nothing changed. Working tree clean. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to git checkout branch. And this one is going to be feature. Let me open my Jira board. Just give me a second here. Just trying to keep myself organized and follow some sort of actual organization here. Again, it'll pay off in the long run, right? I'd like there to be a trail of breadcrumbs for this project. That'll be really cool for me and anyone that comes to look at it. All right. Social chess, there we go. So this one was labeled 5. Social chess 5. Create piece component. Not a valid branch name. Oh no, what did I do? Git checkout B feature. Forgot I can't have spaces. We're all good. All right, so now inside my source, I'm going to create my components folder. And then inside components, I'm going to create my app folder. And then app, go inside app. Yes, update. Cool. And so now I'm going to git add all, git commit message. This is a refactor. And this is going to be create components folder and move app files. Cool. Git push. Let's get my upstream going. Give myself. I never remember what to type here, so git push. Scroll up for me. There we go. Set upstream. Origin feature SC5 create piece component. Origin feature SC5 create piece component. Yay? Yay! Cool. So now the next thing I'm going to do is my next component, new folder, and now I'm actually going to, let's spell piece correctly, right? Piece, new file, piece.tsx, piece, paste. I'm a piece. Yay, save. Compare. What happened? React from React, React DOM from... because now it's inside components. So I want to keep the incoming. Boop, boop, and boop. Cool. Should be good. Main.tsx. Import app from /. What did I do here? Right, I needed to update my imports. So it needs to be dot slash components slash app slash. Yeah, yeah. Um, overwrite. Okay. Don't know. Usually that UI looks different when I'm trying to do merge conflicts, but that must not have been a merge conflict. Um, that was a new UI on VS Code for me. I probably should have read into it a little more. Oh well. This is what it should be because this is now the correct import. Whoops. Um, caught me off guard. I'm trying to talk over my work. All right. So now I should be good to git add all git commit and this is going to be feature slash create piece component git push. Cool. All right. So now I'm going to git switch back to main. Only weird thing now is that component's not here right now. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to head on over to GitHub, drag this into the window, hoping there's nothing on here anyone can see that I don't want you to see. I don't see anything fancy. So create piece component, had recent pushes 2 seconds ago, compare and pull. So I like to title it pretty similarly to how I have it displayed on my Jira board. So a piece component was created with dummy text for future testing. Cool. Create pull request. Again, I don't have anyone on here doing peer reviews, so I'm just gonna merge. I guess I'll have to fix my own problems in the future. So I'll delete that branch now. And now I can head back to VS Code. And just for transparency, I do have another React project I created off to the side. So that's just for some syntax stuff as I go here. Git pull. If you want to check out what I have off to the side, there's a video of that demo on the YouTube channel as well. That's my What to Wear app. Yeah, so now we should be caught up, and I should be on main. Caught up. Yay! Git checkout branch. This one's going to be feature slash, this one I have SC6, and this is create board component. And so I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. Inside components, I'm going to add a new folder, board. I'm going to add a new file inside of board, board.tsx. I'm going to take my piece file because it's so darn similar. Change the name of the functional component to board, and I'm a board. There we go. File, save all. And now we're ready to push. So git add all, git commit message, feature, create board component. I'm trying to keep my naming conventions for my commits the same, and this is something I would end up putting in my README file is how I want commits formatted. Git push, I need my upstream again. Git push set upstream origin feature SC6 create board component. That should push up now. I'm gonna head over to GitHub one more time. There we are. I dragged the tab over. I was going crazy for a second there. So now I have a new pull request. Cool. Compare and pull. Yep, absolutely. Feature SC6. Create board component. A board component was created with dummy text for future testing. Create pull request. Of course, it's going to merge. There's not very much in the project right now to cause any conflicts, so awesome. And now last thing from the Jira board was trying to set up a an example of what the JSON might look like. So I would like to use state. Take just a second here to make sure I have everything I need. Use state is also going to need to be imported from React, so I'll add that up here. And so then inside the board, I'm going to add const, and then current board set current board equal use state. And now inside use state, you're always going to give it some initial value. This is where I want all of the magic and the decision making to happen. So what does a board look like? So this is just essentially JSON. So the board is going to end up having an ID. I'd expect that ID to be a number, right? This is where I think the TypeScript can come into play, is if I go ID number, the TypeScript should enforce that. So this is an object that represents a number of any kind. All JavaScript numbers are 64-bit floating point numbers. So I think this is how you get TypeScript to enforce your strong typing, is you can also create your own objects. And yeah, I mean, I'll play around with that a little bit more in the future. For now, I'm just going to go with the key value pairs. So this one's going to have an ID of 1. This is board number 1. And when match number 1 is done, the board can be deleted, and that ID space could be used again for a board so that there's not just an endless number of them populating in the database. So we're going to want to make sure we drop those eventually. And then we're going to have 2 players. We're going to have 2 players in this game. So player white ID. And so we're just going to say this is player with an ID of 1. Player black ID is going to be player 2. So that way we just kind of know whose turn it is, right? So turn is going to be turn 1, which means it's the white player's turn. So it's going to be turn 1 and turn 2. Or I could go turn white or turn black. We'll have to figure that out in the future as well. Again, this is the art of programming, is how am I going to set up this information so it's A, readable, B, performative, C, I'm sure there's a third item in that list. So whose turn is it? And then really from there, we just need a list of the pieces that are present on this chessboard. And then we'll be able to alternate the turn going 1, 2, 1, 2, or 0, 1, 0, 1, or black, white, black, white. If the board ID is 1, and then we want players to be able to send their friend a board ID, you could have 2 players join that way. You know, these are all features for the future, right? So then pieces, I'm planning on being, gosh, just this horrendous array. So what is a piece? What is a piece? So the first item in the list, I mean, I'm just expecting these to also be objects, right? So this is not going to be attractive, but we'll try and figure out a better way to do this in the future. So a piece needs to have a name, like what is the piece, type of piece, for example, pawn. Or maybe we shorten that up because the pawn is the only piece with the letter P that starts. And then later we could do like, you know, knight and king would be KN and KI. Again, decisions we'll make in the future. So this is going to represent a pawn. I'm not going to worry about how much space this takes up, so I'll just use the actual names right now. So type pawn. Row we're going to be on row 2. Um, we're going to have white pawns all on row 2, which means black pawns would be on row 7. And I am not going to zero index this because you would not zero index them in chess. We'll also change that to rank and file probably eventually, but for now, just my visualization. Row and column, thinking of the chessboard as a table, just makes so much more sense to me. Row, column, we'll just say col. So this will be col A or col 1. Again, what do I want to do? I can represent the column with a letter like it is on a chessboard on the actual website, but what do I want to do here? For now, I'm just going to go col 1 for the same reason. It makes more sense for my visualization in my head. In the future, I might update that. All right, so a pawn, where it is, its color, so this would be a white pawn, and then has it moved? Has it moved? Now for pawns, we don't really need to ask that question, has it moved? If a white pawn is on row 2, that is its starting row. It's going to be allowed to move 2 spaces. So, we're okay with that. I don't need to add any more information for this pawn. What I do need to do is add 7 more of them. So this is going to be kind of ridiculous, but is there a better way to represent it? I don't know. We'll find out in the future, won't we? This is just going to open up the ability for us to do some testing. And I'm going to do a better job of this project with you guys along the way of making it readable, making it easier for the eyes. All right? Because right now, you know what I'm about to do is I'm about to make another 8 black pawns. Yeah, we need those, right? So I got all these white pawns. You better believe we're going to need some black pawns. So black pawns are going to start on row 7. And then I'm also going to go columns 1 through 8. Crazy, right? I know. But this is where we start. And you got to start somewhere. And the visualization gets easier and more apparent as you get a little deeper into it. And once things are on the screen the way I want them on the screen, I know the data structure makes sense. Then is there a way I can clean it up afterwards? Okay, so that's the battle I'm going to play. Now let's go through and do different chess pieces. Now different chess pieces need to know more about themselves. The easy ones are actually the knight, the queen, and the bishop. There really are no special rules with those. But if we go left to right on the chessboard, a rook does need to know some things about itself. So white's first rook is on row 1, column 1. Helps if I spell row correctly, huh? Row 1, col 1. Color white. And what's something special rooks know about themselves? Has moved. False. Why do I need to know whether or not a rook has moved? For the sake of castling. So if the rook remembers itself, have I moved? In the future, when a king is trying to castle, it can look at a rook and say, have you moved? And the rook is going to have an answer for the king. Cool. So let's get the 4 rooks in play. 1, 2, 3. So I have 2 white rooks, column 1 and column 8. And I've got 2 black rooks, column 1 and column 8, but row 8. Row 8, col 1, row 8, col 8. Cool, so I've got rooks, and I have the special piece of information they care about. Obviously, once a rook has moved, that value will become true, and then castling with that rook will not be an option, even if they move back to their original place. Moving over to the right one, I'm going to add the knight. Knights don't have a lot of special information about them. They can move in interesting ways. They can jump over pieces, but that's going to be part of the piece itself. That's not going to be a part of... that's going to be part of the helper method for the namespaced knight. If a knight is the piece that was clicked on, some code will run looking for the available movement of that piece in particular, looking at the rest of the board. Organizing that inside the object is, again, that would be so much data duplication. If you really think about these chess pieces, the chess piece itself does not exist outside of the board. And so the board needs to know where the pieces are on it. Otherwise, again, I would be creating these 32 starting chess pieces in another table anyway. Why not create these 32 starting chess pieces on the board itself? For data storage, I really think it ends up being the same. Just looking at an individual board, though, yeah, having these 32 pieces inside the board data structure, it's a mess. If anyone's got a good idea for me, I'll take it. It's just the board needs to have its own pieces with their own rows and columns. Is pushing those off into another table really doing us any good? Yeah, there's a balance there, right? So that's something to figure out in the future. So knights don't really need any special information. I just have 2 white knights, row 1, col 2, and col 7. And then I have 2 black knights that are also going to be row 8, col 2, and row 8, col 7. And each of these is going to have a picture associated with them, so every black knight is going to represent the same image from our assets. Every white knight is going to have their own image. That stuff's not going to be too crazy. Those are just going to be pictures available on the front end. There's no reason to make a request for that. There won't be too many images to have on this site unless you want to like change themes, but that is not a here or a now problem. All right, we're going to move over again. Bishops, once again, bishops are pretty simple. They have no special rules. They're just able to move diagonally, and that's going to be a task for the helper methods. So row 1, col 3 for the first white bishop, and row 1, col 6 for the second white bishop. I'll copy and paste those, change it to row 8, and change the color to black for both. And now we're on our last 2 pieces. We have the queen. So type queen. Queen once again. Nothing special. Good for us, right? This is going to be at 4 for white. All right, let's go take a look at a chessboard and make sure I'm not crazy. Let's go take a look at a chessboard. Ready? Chessboard. Chessboard. Black, white, black, white. Yes, so queen should be on 4. And then the queens are always across from each other. So this should be correct. Color white. And then we'll add one more for the other side of the board. So queen, black, row 8, col 4. And then we have the kings. His Majesty, the worst piece in the game. Honestly, a pawn might have more utility than a king sometimes. Anyway. So row 1, col 5, color white. Has moved just like the rook. False. And there's one more thing I think we're going to want. In check. So at the start of the game, of course, the king is not in check. In check may or may not be necessary for the object to know. Why? Because you can always calculate whether or not the king is in check. And for a lot of situations, like castling or checking where the king can move, you're going to want to check that on the fly. So I don't think this is going to stay, but it's something that the king at some point is going to need to know. It's just when does it need to know it? Does it need to know it here for the sake of, you know, programming the chessboard? I don't think so, but I'm just going to include it for now because it is an important piece of information we'll eventually care about. And so these should be my 64 chess pieces. I've got pawn, 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 pawn. And then we have black pawn, 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 pawn. And then we have white rook, black rook, knight, 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 bishop, 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 queen, queen, king, king. Cool. So that should be the 32 chess pieces. And I think that's our chessboard. So this is gonna be my my data structure for now. And this is called a state if you're unfamiliar with React. What a state essentially is it's think of it like a local variable that you intend to reference and change throughout a user visiting the website. Um, we'll we'll leave it at that. We'll get into a lot more detail when we actually start using this. Um, yeah, so I think that's gonna be it for that Jira story. Um, Let me go check that out, and then I'll try and push it. Yeah, set up JSON for a dummy chessboard. I'm pretty happy with that. Uh, let's. Was I still on create board component? My gosh. Well, good news. I'm just gonna copy all of this. Git switch main. I these are mistakes I swear I never make. Um, just when I'm talking over my work. The same thing happens to me in the classroom when I'm teaching. I make so many more mistakes. Um, so we're gonna git reset hard head. Git switch main. Git full. Let's refresh this. Methinks. Two problems in this file. Oh, you're just yelling at me because I've declared. Yeah, okay. I was looking over here thinking there were things that weren't committed. Git checkout branch feature SC7. And what is this one called? This should be creating my initial, yeah. Set up board JSON. Cool. Now board, I'm gonna paste over this. File, save all. My students hate that I don't use shortcuts for saving, but it's just two button presses. I swear I don't have Boomer APM. Like I use a lot of hotkeys. Just for some reason saving, I like actually clicking the button. It makes me feel like it actually happened. I It's just one of those things. Everyone's got a vice, right? Git add all, git commit feature create dummy JSON for a chessboard. Git push set upstream origin feature SC7 set up board JSON. Yay! All right. One more time. Back to GitHub. Woo! Code. Compare. Feature. SC7. Set up JSON for a dummy chessboard. All right, so JSON should include board ID, user IDs, player turn, and a collection of pieces. Pieces should have appropriate information. Create pull request. Let's merge that bad boy. Confirm. Delete branch. Now we can head home. Still says 2 branches. What did I do? Create board component. Yikes. Did I not delete that? Delete branch. There we go. 1 branch. All right. Keeping stuff clean. Keeping stuff clean. It's kind of fun doing this on the fly, but I feel like I'm doing some silly things along the way. It's all right. That's how you know I'm not faking it. Let's go back to main. Pull changes, and we should be good. So I hope you enjoyed. I did a decent amount of stuff this time. It was cool to actually code in front of you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you listen to this before you go to bed or something. I don't know. Learn some React in your sleep. Thanks for watching. Take care.